Hello and welcome to VOA's Red Carpet. My name is Jackson Vunganyi. Thank you so much for joining us today. On this episode of Red Carpet, we speak to Mozambican singer Xixel Langa, Muslim comic creators changing stereotypes in American pop culture, and we speak to the filmmaker behind the documentary film Choisi. Let's get on with the show. Let's start off the show in Southern Africa. Known for its rich and diverse culture, Mozambique's music industry is a reflection of the country's traditional and historical influences. But as its entertainment industry struggles to keep up with global music trends, young artists like Xixel Langa are shaping a new sound deeply rooted in the country's rich musical heritage. Xixel spoke to Red Carpet about her upcoming album, inspired by her late father. Let's check it out.
I call it Afro jazz because I mix my Afro thing with the melodies, with the sound, with the soul of jazz. What is this? I have my own, and I mix it with the contemporary instruments. I mix it with saxophone, piano, double bass, trumpet, this kind of instruments. And I make my own music, like Tonga music from south of Mozambique. That I call it Afro jazz. And this time, because I lost my father for COVID, Batekile means taken. So I guess he was taken from me, from us. Yeah? And my feelings were like that, down, and the album is soft. At the same time, it's very Afro. The first song is Bava. Bava means father.
Your album is an homage to your father. Talk to us about your father, the legacy of your father, and how he influenced your musical path.
Well, he was a musician too. He built for himself a great name. You can hear about Xixel Langa. I feel like I'm a bit of him because he transformed himself to jazz musician. So he taught me a lot. He was with me all the time. When I started singing, he was there helping, supporting, and giving me advices to be on the right way. So yes, but this album wasn't only for my father, but also about our ancestors that were taken. I put people to think about it. Like, let's think about it. Do we want this taken to happen again? Because we were taken from everything, from our land, from our own names, from our own religion, from our own identity at all. You see? So what Tekil is this? Let's rethink about ourselves as Africans.
And now to art news. A new exhibition titled African Modernism in America recently opened at the Phillips Collection here in Washington, D.C. The exhibition celebrates over 70 artworks by 50 artists from across Africa. VOA's Kali Abdu attended the exhibition and has this story.
At the Phillips Collection in Washington, D.C., more than 70 artworks by 50 African and African-American artists are on display in an exhibition co-organized by the American Federation of Arts and Fisk University Galleries.
We started with the Fisk University collection of modern African art, which was given to Fisk by the Harman Foundation in 1967. And so that was really the beginning of the idea for the show. I traveled to Fisk University for research for my dissertation and had the privilege of meeting Jamal Sheets and Niku Paidar, my co-curators, during that visit. And they took the time to show me the collections at Fisk, and my mind was blown, at being able to see works by many African artists whose work that I had studied but hadn't had the opportunity to see in person.
The exhibited artworks, which range from paintings and sculptures to works on paper, reflect the experimentation and different artistic techniques that arose in Africa from the 1940s through the 1960s.
It's such an incredible exhibition that really helps us rethink what we've been taught about modernism. It helps us kind of rethink the canons that this history is composed of. And so African modernism in America, for me, in a lot of ways, redefines that. It redefines what I think that people's expectation is about what modern African art is, at least on this side of the hemisphere.
African modernism is a complex and diverse movement that emerged in the mid-20th century as African artists started experimenting with new materials and ideas to create art that was both modern and rooted in their own cultures. The artists featured in the African Modernism in Africa exhibition were at the forefront of this movement, pushing the boundaries of what it meant to be an African artist.
It speaks to this exchange, this kind of intercontinental or cross-continental exchange between artists of the diaspora. The space that we're sitting in right now, and I feel the same way in every space we're in, is like the epicenter of these exchange of ideas amid the backdrop of the civil rights movement in the US, decolonization on the continent, the Cold War, and all of these things happening, but artists are working.
The exhibition is the first major museum exhibition to explore the development of modernism in Africa during the decolonization period from the 1950s to the 1970s. The exhibition is on view at the Phillips Collection in Washington, D.C. until January the 7th, 2024.
Muslim comic creators are working to change Islamic stereotypes in American pop culture. Jenia Dulo has our story.
For cosplayer Kaval Rahman, recalibrating Muslim narratives in comics starts with dressing as Jasmine from Aladdin in an outfit more culturally appropriate than some of the costumes from the 1992 animated movie.
During that time period of when Aladdin took place, the clothing, for instance, that Jasmine wore was not something that during that time period would have been appropriate for her to wear.
Shamika Mitchell organized Salam Fandom to celebrate comic creators following Islamic values.
You have video game creators who, in their work, as opposed to killing everybody, maybe you're just stopping them, or you're pausing them, or they get to regrow, but they change a little bit. So you don't have to have the same kind of tropes that you see in contemporary gaming or contemporary fandom.
The comic book series Zindan focuses on a mythical prison that holds the world's worst criminals. Psychiatrist and comic creator Omar Mirza says it is part of countering stereotypes of Muslim characters as villains and terrorists.
We have a group of people that we call the Ansars, and we draw from Islamic history, which, the Ansars were sort of the Prophet's helpers at the time. And so in our story, the Ansars are sort of like this noble group of folks that are tasked with the responsibility to guard this prison, and then also now that the prison has fallen, to be the ones to sort of return those people to justice.
Muslim Pakistani-American teenager Kamala Khan is Marvel's Miss Marvel, who fights for good and battles all kinds of supervillains. The character is a powerful force against Islamophobia. says Muslim anti-racism collaborative director Margaret Hill.
When we're able to see our heroes in other faces and other cultures, it really helps humanize other people. So instead of making the other and dehumanizing them, when we're relating to them in their stories, we're able to treat them like full human beings. So it's really powerful through storytelling where we can make a difference.
Jenny Adulo, VOA News, San Diego, California.
And let's get some more film news. A new documentary film, Choisi, or The Chosen One, tells the stories of first-generation Africans from Europe and America who are pursuing their dreams in various fields. VOA's Kali Abdu spoke to Suzanne Berry, the filmmaker behind the documentary, in an exclusive interview. Let's take a look.
In the film Le Choisi, or The Chosen One, we meet 4 individuals who share a common background. They are all first-generation Africans who have moved to Europe or America to chase their dreams. They are Fokias, a rap group from Paris that has become one of the most popular acts in France. Lina Chaban, a soccer player from Algeria who plays for Olympique Lyonnais in the French Ligue 1. Mimi Yeboah, a fashion designer from Ghana who has launched her own clothing line in New York. And Baba Diop, a supermodel from Senegal who has graced the covers of Vogue and GQ.
I can't stop thinking about how similar we actually all are.
Filmmaker Suzanne Berry talks about the inspiration behind the title of the film.
At first, it started off with being like, okay, African people, I feel like, are chosen because that's where I'm from. But in my journey, I realized everybody's chosen, and being chosen is just something that happens in inception. Like, we're not really, you can learn a skill, but a lot of us are really born with abilities, whether that is to sing, whether that is to play a sport, whether that is to have a natural eye for design, or if it's like me, storytelling, And I think when you know those things about yourself, you have to follow it because it's a gift. And that's what I think it means to be chosen. But I think the real magic happens when you choose it back, and then everything becomes golden.
La plupart que personnes.
Suzanne Berry, who is also a first-generation African from Guinea and Ivory Coast, says she wanted to make a film that celebrates the individual journeys of people from her community.
The way I felt that it could inspire people was just by them literally telling their story, like what they wanted to be in the beginning, how things change. Everybody's journey in the film is different as to how they got to it. I'm also really big on highlighting, everybody's path is very different as to how you get to it.
Le Choisi serves as a cultural representation of the immigrant experience on the 2 sides of the Atlantic and acts as a guide for future generations in overcoming the challenges of life.
You're chosen to do something, then there'll be a way and you'll find it.
And let's close the show with some live music. 4 members of the experimental music platform Telem Uncommon Sounds are the first group ever from Sierra Leone to participate in the Silk Road's Global Musicians Workshop at the New England Conservatory in Boston, Massachusetts. The group recently performed on VOA's Music Time in Africa, hosted by Heather Maxwell. Let's check it out. Thank you for watching VOA's Red Carpet. I'm Jackson Vunganye. For more entertainment news, remember to check us out at voaafrica.com. We are also on Facebook, on Instagram, and YouTube. Don't forget to like, to share, and to subscribe. Until next time, goodbye everyone.